Hello, folks. Welcome to the HireMyVA Team and Business Building Podcast, brought to you by ugozi.com and Victory. In this podcast and HireMyVA, we help you to reclaim your freedom through hiring and thriving with virtual assistants without breaking the bank. And of course, that means your bank. I'm Dave Braun. I'm here with my partner, fantastic business mentor and coach. But you know what's most important is my good friend, Larry Broughton.
Hello, handsome David.
How you doing, Larry?
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
A crazy week.
They're always crazy.
Well, how many times have I seen you already in the last couple of days? We've got a lot going on.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, didn't we just have our virtual spotlight session today?
Earlier today.
We did. And it was really good. It actually brought up some stuff that so important for people when they're doing what we're going to talk about today, plus going to like a conference or convention. I think we got to record a new episode on that. That should be upcoming, but that was really powerful. Yeah. And then we had somebody just talk off the cuff. It's like, hey, here's what's going on in my business. And we had some really, really good advice. Yeah. So it was a lot of fun.
Those virtual spotlight sessions where we get to take a half hour or whatever it is and go deep into someone's challenge, opportunity, or idea are hugely valuable. I mean, how often do you get to do that? With someone, as business owners, oftentimes we just think that, we've got to do this all by ourselves. Because the truth is most people don't have formal mentors in their life. Yeah. And so this is a confidential space where people can come and share opportunities, challenges, and ideas. Challenges, opportunities, ideas. It's pretty powerful.
Yeah. And one of the things that made me feel so good about this last one was one of the members, because we go over the previous session with everybody and what happened. And one of the members said, well, I did this and this and this, and it was all based on what we talked about. And it was almost like in this person's relationship with a client, became what, bunnies, rainbows, and
sunshine, lollipops, and
rainbows and ice cream and cake frosting and all that stuff.
Well, I don't usually know these topics going into these calls, but I do know what the topic is today, and it pertains to this, and it has to do with dealing with clients and customers, dissatisfaction stuff. I'll let you do this real setup for this. But we did ask him, okay, now that you've dealt with that, because that was a big challenge a month ago when we spoke to him, I'll just tell you, they did an exchange of services and products for money. And although the client agreed to the whole process, after a couple of weeks, he was just not satisfied, not happy. And so we encouraged him to do some things we'll probably talk about today, but that was go face the client. Yeah. Do this, this, and this. And he said the relationship's never been better now. Yeah. That's always a good thing, because unfortunately, Dave, it seems like, particularly in today's business environment, it seems like we've got into a us against them relationship with our clients, because most businesses are running short-staffed, right? Team members are stressed out, prices are up, supply chain problems are preventing you from doing your job as quickly and as efficiently as before. There's a lot of opportunities to miss the price value perception that a client or potential client might have.
Yes.
Right. So if you just say, I'm not a big believer that the client is always right.
That's absolutely true. They're not always right, but one thing
we can't salvage relationships if we define what the expectations are on both sides, and just admit, hey, we missed the mark, or I'm sorry we didn't meet your expectations. And you can still, even if it's a bad relationship and you're never going to do business with each other again, you can protect your reputation by offering some suggestions to the client and tell them to politely go pound sand someplace else.
Yeah, you can. I know I've got a interaction with a client. They want me to do something on the website, and I'm like, no, that's not the place to do it on this page. You need to do it over in your calendaring system. And here's the reasons why. And
did you say it like that to them, or did you soften it up?
Oh, I softened them up a little bit.
Yeah. Well, you can be firm and respectful at the same time.
Yeah. And absolutely. Because, as business owners, really, we've got to make sure we have our best clients' interests at heart. And we got to sometimes have those tough conversations with them and say, no, this is not in the best interest long-term for how we want to do stuff.
We got to remember, Dave, is that they've hired us for a reason. We should be more of an expert with our products and services than they are. Yes. Now, we need to serve them for sure. But if we are serving them and giving them an inferior product because they simply don't know, then it's our responsibility to bring them up to speed on why this approach or this product will better serve them long term. Right. 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 So, there's that impossibility triangle that we've talked about and taught on before, right? We can deliver a product or service with high quality, right? It can be, you can choose quality, speed, or price, right? You can't provide all three of those. So pick two. Right? Yeah. You want it fast? All right, well, you can pick fast. If you want it really fast, you're going to have to compromise on either quality or expense, right? Or pick anyone, right? So we need to talk more about that, I think. And I think there's an article on ugozi.com on the impossibility triangle, if I remember correctly. All right. Future episode. There you go. There you go. Let's should we get to our topic? Let's get into the topic. We've already did a long enough preamble, and you probably already figured out what we're going to be talking about today, folks. Well, this is our podcast, and we can do what we want. Yeah, but let's set it up formally. Here we go. All right. So this is actually number 153. Wow. We're getting up there. So the question is, how do I do a customer satisfaction survey? When you first brought this to my attention, it reminded me, Dave, that a couple of years ago, maybe it was before the pandemic, so it's probably 3 or 4 years ago now, I was at MSNBC and did a segment with JJ Ramberg on this topic. Yeah. Because as it turns out, fewer and fewer businesses are actually asking their clients, asking their customers, hey, how did we do? Did we meet your expectations? Did we exceed your expectations? And so what happens is, you only hear from the very best and very worst, of your clients. And generally they don't even tell you, they tell some online forum, right? So you don't hear from the middle mass of your client base, right? And as you know, our human tendency is to go towards the negative, and those negative responses, reviews spread like wildfire. And so what I had suggested, and maybe what we ought to do, is just take a second and watch that video, and then we can kind of come back. That might be a good setup for the rest of the podcast. You want to do that? Yeah, let's do that. So, folks, we're gonna put a video in here and watch it all the way through, and then we'll come back. Systems. What do you mean by that? What kind of systems? Surveys, like absolutely. I think any organization needs to, whether you're in a restaurant, a hotel, a manufacturing organization, we all have customers and clients, right? And so, yes, I think that what we need to do is get to the consumer, the complainer, the whiner before they get to the internet and start reviewing you. So anytime you do a transaction, there is an opportunity to ask for feedback. Got it. And be clear that we want your honest feedback and respond to the people who have something that makes sense that you did wrong. Sure. And also, I think we need to create an environment in our own organization for our team members to be actively seeking feedback. Too often in organizations, I'm staying at a hotel right now here in town, and it's not the great environment. And when I offer feedback to them, you can see them shrinking, like, oh my gosh, they're going to get beat up because I'm going to have to share this bad news with someone. If we create an environment where we say, no, we want this information because we're going to improve by it. Right. That's a win-win. Okay. Well, that was awesome, Larry. I love the video. Well, there you have it. Right. So it's very difficult, so I'm a hotel guy, and I was staying at a hotel there. And one of the interesting things that I found that I maybe just spend a little bit more time on right now is that we really do need to build cultures in our organizations where we seek information from our clients, right? Because at that hotel, it was like I did not approach the guest service host or the front office manager with any kind of anger or frustration. In fact, I pulled them off to the side and said, listen, I'm in the hotel industry, I get how this stuff kind of happens. But they were white as ghost, they were like very nervous. And I could say, maybe you ought to share this. And she's like, I don't know about that. You know, I was talking about sharing this with their general manager. And you could tell that there was not a culture where that kind of feedback was accepted or embraced, right? When we ask for our clients and our customers for real, honest feedback, you better have the courage to accept it.
Yeah. And to act on it.
Because the truth hurts sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And you're absolutely right. Then you have to act on it. As leaders, Dave, I think when we encourage our team members to understand that they're not going to lose their jobs because of, I mean, unless, the example I always use, unless you have a team member who punches a client,
yeah,
you know, but if it's just like, hey, we fell short in this area and we're going to fix it, they're not going to lose their job. That you use this as a tool to improve. That's why you're going to solicit feedback. We're asking for this information because we want to be better at what we do. We want to serve you better in the future. When you look at it from that perspective, it's a tool for improvement. Because the truth is, particularly as your business grows and expands, and you bring new products and service offerings to your clients, there is no way in God's green earth that you are going to be able to monitor every aspect of the process.
Right.
You just can't. Right. And so by soliciting feedback from your clients, you can get the truth of what's the delivery actually like for reals. Not in theory, not we think it's going to happen this way, for real. And so I would just encourage you to change our mindset about these customer client satisfaction surveys and using as tools for improvement.
Yeah.
The great thing is these are both leading and lagging indicators. I think we spoke about this in a previous podcast, right?
Yeah.
They're a lagging indicator, and it tells you, hey, here's what's happened in the past. We keep falling short with our supply chain, or we don't have enough inventory to serve people, or we've got these team members at this time of day who just don't seem to have this joie de vivre in their spirit, their spirit to serve and be happy. So that's the lagging indicator. There's not a lot you can do about that except to go back and coach and try to fix the problems. The leading indicator is this: if people are posting these things online, it's going to tell you that if you keep having those problems, then your business is going to drop. You're going to lose market share on it, right? But if your guest, client, customer surveys are saying great things, you're likely to gain market share if your competitors aren't keeping up with you. So it's one of those rare KPIs that are both leading and lagging.
Yeah.
And we need more of those, by the way.
Yeah, so it's great. We've got to be doing surveys. We've got to be asking.
It's a non-negotiable. You have to. Yeah. Dave, we've had clients in the past who said, but I can't survey. There's no way that I can survey my, for whatever reason. Well, you can. If you do a transaction, if you take money from someone, there is an opportunity right there to give them a survey of some sort. It can be a one-question survey, or it can be more in-depth. If they're giving you information, there's an opportunity, whether it's a QR code at your point of sale place, whether it's online, whether it's once they've hit the send button or the purchase button online, there's an opportunity to send an email, give a survey, give them a physical one. Even if it's a manufacturing facility, it might be a B2B transaction, right? There is no excuse on why we're not surveying our clients.
Yeah. Yeah. You went into some great do's. I mean, we've got do's, and I got to be careful I say that, because if I say do twice in a row, it sounds like do.
You said do.
So these are the things these do's you're supposed to do, not anyway.
do these.
Yeah. And now one of the things I think it's important is, you can actually put in the AAR process along with all of this.
Yes.
Right. After action review. We talked about how to do that in episode 98.
Okay.
And I think that concentrates a lot on doing and improving things from, internally and from your perspective, right? But how do you do a customer survey or a client survey to where you can actually feed that into your AAR process, right? So
let me interject something really quickly.
Yeah.
words have meaning, right? The person that we were talking about earlier today was a one-time customer for our coaching client earlier today, right? So a customer is transactional,
Right.
the way I describe it. It's not technically the case, but clients are relational
Yes.
in my book. What's that mean? They do more than one transaction with you. Had the guy that was on the call this morning not gone and actually faced this client who was upset, dissatisfied with the installation of this product and service, and it's both product and a service in this case, it would have been a customer. But now that the relationship is rebuilt and, as he said, better than ever, now this is a potential client.
Sure.
Where they'll come back and make another purchase from you. And let's as a reminder for everybody, one of the most expensive parts of running your business is the client acquisition part.
Mm-hmm.
Why wouldn't you try to maintain, build, grow this relationship with somebody who you've already spent God knows how many dollars attracting to make that first purchase from you?
Yeah,
But the problem is often it's ego or it's pride, or fear.
Yeah, in our Q&A coming up here in a few days, we're going to talk about the sales pipeline, sales funnel, right?
Yeah.
And one of the key components of that in this whole process is repeat sales to current clients. And you got to treat them like clients if you want repeat sales, because it's very expensive and it takes a lot of time to get somebody through that, funnel.
Yeah.
You've already established the love, know, and trust factor, or and all that, right? Ahead of time.
Right.
Okay. Well,
so we're going to go doo-doos.
Here's some doo-doos.
Okay. What are the doo-doos, Dave? Oh.
Okay. Well, one of the first ones is make it part of your regular process. In other words, process this thing. Make it so it happens automatic as much as possible. Every single client interaction.
Like systematize it, you mean?
Systematize
it. Where it's part of the DNA.
Yeah, put it into your checklist at the end of a project so that you actually have to check it off, do something like that. If you're going to do it manually, do it to where it automatically happens when you close a client ticket in your help ticket system. Yeah. That's what we do. But make it part of your regular process, because otherwise you are going to forget, and you're going to be missing, as you talked about, Larry, that leading indicator. You're going to be missing out on that.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the big keys. That's one of the first doo-doos to do.
Yeah. What else you got?
Well, and I think we talked about this earlier, though, is look at the feedback and take action on it.
Oh, geez. The worst thing you can do is not take action. You ask for feedback and they tell you, and then you do nothing with it. You want to burn credibility? That's a quick way to do it.
Well, here's one of the things is people may be listening to this and thinking, oh, I don't want to deal with that negative feedback and feed it back to my team. But you're going to get a lot of positive feedback. And if you're in business, you're probably doing a lot of good stuff right. So you're going to get positive feedback. That's just as important as feedback to your team.
Yes.
Negative.
Yes. I'd forgotten even about that. Yes.
Yeah.
In our hotel business, we oftentimes put in small incentives that those folks who are mentioned by name in reviews, positively mentioned by name, get small cash bonuses. He said it might be $5,
Yeah, it's not the amount oftentimes.
It's just the recognition.
The gesture. Yeah, that's important.
Yeah.
So what do you think about what's another two?
I think we get so wrapped up, like I just did, about the negative. The negative is to ask for, hey, tell me about a good experience you might have had, particularly if it is someone who's giving you a negative one. Say, okay, that's awesome. And once you've got that resolved, it's is there anyone on the team that we should be recognizing who did something good, for us, something positive for us? So I think really being specific in asking for good ones. Those good ones you can turn into testimonials. They can end up on your website or wherever you do your marketing stuff. So I would encourage folks to be asking for those. By the way, you and I were talking earlier today on our call, virtual spotlight call. It's something that we've been doing for years in my organization, is where prior to the pandemic, I was calling at least 5 guests per week, just out of the blue. Just calling them out of the blue. Hey, I saw that you stayed at, you name the hotel. Hey, I'm Larry, I'm the CEO of, Broughton Hotels. Saw you stayed at one of our hotels. I'm just checking in with you. How did it go
Yeah.
for you? And just zip it and listen and ask more questions, right? And oftentimes they would be blown away. I mean, when's the last time the CEO or business owner of a business that you had some kind of transaction with called you unsolicited just to check in, right?
Huge.
You want to start some positive word of mouth, you do that kind of stuff, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And so I'd been in the habit of doing that for a long time. And so I was pretty fearless about it. But I'd like to hear from you, Dave, because you kind of mentioned this morning, you started calling clients recently. Tell me about that.
Yeah.
Maybe share that here a little bit.
Yeah, so I should talk about that in detail, maybe in another episode, how I came up with the system.
Of course, Mr. Engineer. Yeah.
But yeah, last week I called a client. I hadn't talked to, like, on the phone. I hadn't talked to them probably, and Larry, this is going to shock you, I would say at least before the pandemic.
Wow.
So it's really been like 3 years. We've exchanged emails and stuff as needed, but like 3 years. And I called him and I said, just to kind of say hi. And a couple of things that he said to me was really interesting. One is like, well, you're doing a really good thing, is calling your customers. That's very good. You should be doing that. And then he said, I've heard about this other program, this HireMyVA thing that you're doing. Tell me more about that. And I told him, I said, my next thing I said is, well, yeah, I'd be happy to tell you about it, but I didn't make this call to sell you anything new.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, I understand. I asked, I want to hear about it.
Oh,
yeah.
That's a revenue generating opportunity right there.
So you just
didn't
don't
even
know.
expect.
Yeah, I didn't even expect. And it just showed me that if we don't talk to our clients, we are doing a disservice to them.
Yeah.
Because we don't know, we can't figure out the goods and the bads. We can't figure out where they're struggling and where we can possibly help. Even if it's not us helping them directly, we can always refer them to somebody else that can help them with their problems, because every entrepreneur at every time in their business has got something that's on their mind that they need help with.
Yeah.
Or they're struggling with.
Yeah. Dave, I would encourage folks also to do these surveys during multiple stages of the process here. Depending on, like, if I own a convenience store, for instance, that's difficult to do. You've got product, they walk in, they grab their stuff, and they're on the way out. You could have a suggestion box there, right? You could have there are ways to engage with those people, particularly the regulars that come through the doors, right? But let's talk something about that's more of a long, protracted process. You just mentioned HireMyVA, right? We have this white glove service. Why don't you describe to the listeners and viewers, what do we do during that process? How do we engage with them?
Yeah, that's a good question. So our white glove service in HireMyVA, where we help find a virtual assistant for you, we take care of all the details and work with you along the way. But we've got 3 different stages: the prepare, hire, and thrive. And so that was part of the course. And so we turn that into a service, and we have calls with you at the to learn about your needs, to help you with hiring somebody, of course, and then thriving. So we have a call with you on the prepare stage, one at the hire stage, and we used to have one at the thrive stage at the end of that. And I'll tell you what happened with that, why we changed. And so, but what we decided to do early on is we said, let's do quick surveys at the end of each stage.
Yep.
So at the end of the prepare stage, we send a quick survey and we remind our clients to go ahead and fill that out. Quick survey. We do that at the end of the hire stage. We do that at the end of the thrive stage. So we have it along the way. Yeah. Part of the reason, because it's a little bit longer when we say protracted, it's 2, 3, 4 weeks, whatever it is.
Right.
One of the things is that will help us to know if things are going off track quickly. Yes. Right. If they're upset at the end of the prepare call that it didn't meet their needs, it's like, we better get on and do another quick call with them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's what we did. And by doing these surveys, we had one client who was upset about something, and we decided to insert a quick 15-minute call, which is supposed to happen 1 week after the new VA joins your team, to see that, hey, is there anything going on here in this first week? Are they showing up? Are they doing what they're supposed to do? How's your interactions going? Do you have this in place, this in place, this in place? And that's invaluable. That's invaluable doing it then. So yeah, we have those little surveys at each step of the way.
Yeah. So important to do. So important to do. And finally, well, we have more to do, but I mean, finally, in the kind of the process, what we try to do is then thank the client, the customer, for actually giving you whatever information they gave you. Well, why is that? Because they just invested time in the growth of your organization. This is invaluable. Even bad reviews, you know, if you can sift through, like, 'cause sometimes I get it. I've seen thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of reviews in the 30+ years that I've been, you know, doing business, right? And I know that when someone has an elevated temperature because they're pissed off at, well, you know, we fell short somehow, things get exaggerated, and I get all of that. But when you weed through all of the nonsense, rarely, and I mean rarely, does someone just make up a negative review to try to get something from you. And if they do, sorry about their life, you know. But generally there are seeds of truth throughout the negative reviews. We got to own it. We got to own it, particularly if you start seeing the same thing over and over again, right?
Yeah.
So because they invested time in the growth of your organization, be sure to thank them. And sometimes it's a verbal thank you. Sometimes it's a written thank you. Sometimes we've gone as far as actually sending people gifts, you know, like, hey, their favorite one. I can remember one crystal clear that happened about 20 years ago. We just really fell short on the new opening of one of the hotels. And the GM, the one thing that they did put in their review is that they loved the coffee. It was a special blend roast coffee that we'd had made just for that particular hotel. And so the GM sent them 5 pounds of that coffee, right? And they end up becoming a raving fan.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Right. So, but just saying thank you, if not, at a minimum, you need to do that.
Yeah. Well, there was a do in there that I think we ought to expand upon maybe at some other point, but the do is take what they've said that they really liked and expand it somehow. Like you said, with the coffee, they loved the coffee. Your GM sent them that 5 pounds of coffee. What a great thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the other thing I like to do when we can, Dave, is let the client know. Again, not if you own a convenience store, the transaction is that long. Okay. Yeah. But with HireMyVA, it's a much longer one, right? For the hotel company, you know, you got somebody who's staying at the hotel for a couple of days. That's a long process. If you own a restaurant, it's probably a 40-minute, like a, you know, not a fast food restaurant, but, you know, typical quick service or fine dining restaurant, it might be 45 minutes, right? So your service is, your service interaction varies in length. So if it's 30 seconds, you're probably not going to say, hey, and at the end of the transaction, we're going to be asking you for your feedback on it, right? Yeah. So use a little bit of discernment on this. But if you let them know up front that you're going to be looking or asking them for their feedback, their radar goes up. And it enlists them. You get them on your team, right? Everyone wants to feel like they're part of the brand nowadays. You know, they got an inside track. Oh, the GM or the owner or that team member asked me for feedback on how it was going today, right? People tend to be a little bit more generous with their information, and you tell them we're doing this because we want to be better. And
people respect that, and people like that, and people want to participate, especially if you tell them ahead of time. Yeah. Well, and I think that we were alluding to it earlier, Larry, in that we talked about keeping it simple, right?
Because this can get pretty complex if you're not careful.
Yeah, you can go down the rabbit hole of wanting to have all this information, and there's nothing that frustrates me more than saying, okay, I'm going to do a survey, and they, you know, have me click on a button here and there, and then it's question after question after question, and then I'm like, I'm out of here.
Yeah. You bail,
It's
right?
like, come on.
Yeah.
So I think we've got a couple of good questions here, and we can explain why we
Okay.
do it this
Go
way.
for it. Okay.
So, when you keep it simple, here's some good questions. Here's the first one. Like on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being best, how would you rate your experience with blank, the service or product, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being best?
Yeah.
Right. And so people are gonna, they're gonna give a 5, a 9. Some people give a 10. We get a lot of 10s. But one of the things that you can do is if somebody says, well, it's a 9 out of 10, there's something in the back of their mind that's causing them not to give you a 10. And you want to find out what that is. So the way that you could do that is you could say to them, if you responded anything other than a 10, what could we do in your mind to make it a 10? So that gives them an opportunity to say, well, I think you could take it from a 9 to a 10 by doing blank or not doing blank.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then here's one other thing that we've discovered through doing surveys. Larry, we've been doing surveys since we've been working together of our, all of the programs and services that we do, right?
Yeah.
Well, here's one of the things that we've learned is that there's a lot of people that give us 10s. We're not, it's just the way it is. Hopefully you excel at what you're doing and people will give you a 10.
Yeah.
But if they say they gave you a 10, but then that's not, and they leave it at that, then that doesn't really give you that much information to do anything with.
That's right.
So we always want to add to that something like anything else you'd like to say, or like to recognize a team member, or how else we could improve. Because what we've had is we've had people give us 10s, and then they're like, well, it's awesome what you promised, you gave us in spades, and it's great. But then they had a little suggestion at the end that, hey, you could improve it even more by doing this.
That's right.
Or it could be faster, or maybe a little bit better, but they're completely happy with what they got. So that's an extra little question to ask.
Yeah. Dave, I have seen some organizations over the years try to simplify this to the extent where there's one question they ask, right? Would you refer us to a family member or friend?
That's good too. Yeah.
Right. If you want to keep it really super simple. So why is that important? Well, you're not going to, I'll personally, I'm not going to recommend any service or product if it's crap.
Yeah.
To a family or friend.
Right.
Because it diminishes my credibility with them. Right. If I do that. And so if they say, no, I wouldn't, then another, like this, if you're doing it electronically, right?
Yeah. The
drop-down menus, would you like to expand on that by asking, answering these 3 questions and whatever those follow-up questions?
Yeah, those are good. That's good.
Might be. Now, if you want, I've seen people do this when they ask, would you refer us to a family member or friend? And you say, yes, there's a drop-down menu that says, is there specifically someone we should reach out to? And you don't have to answer. It's an optional thing.
That's good.
So you're actually asking someone who's just had a good experience with you for referrals. Referrals and word of mouth is so important. Crying out loud, we've taken some of our clients through this referral blitz process, right? Referrals are powerful. So why not just ask somebody? Yeah. You said you would refer us. Here's your opportunity.
Or were you just lying? Oh yeah, those are great. So folks, you can go either way with that, however you would like to do it.
Yeah.
And I think one of the other things that's important, another do, is that sometimes people, they get busy, you ask them and they see your email or ignore your phone call for one time, or they're ignoring it, maybe not intentionally. They think, I'm going to go get back to it, and they don't get back to doing it. Yeah. So it's important if they don't respond to ask them, a second time.
For sure. Yeah.
At least a second time. Yeah. And then a lot of times that's when they will respond. They'll be like, oh yeah, I remembered, I got to do this. And they want to do it.
Yeah. And as you're following up, just again, remind them why you're doing it. You're doing it because you want to improve. You want to make their next experience with you even better than it has been in the past. Yeah. And one way to entice folks to fill out these surveys, here's a do consider offering some kind of reward for their feedback. Entering them into a drawing, giving them a gift card. Somebody this morning had mentioned about giving them a discount off a future experience with you, whether it's buying a product or whatever. Now, keep in mind, if it's someone who's had a negative experience with you and you're going to offer them a discount on a future product, that there's zero value in that. They've already had a crappy experience with you. 15% off their next experience is zero because they're not planning on having an experience with you, right? But I have seen folks who have offered, hey, by filling out particularly like if you're trying to engage past clients that you've not communicated with for a while, say, hey, we're making some changes in the organization, would love your feedback. And by filling this survey out, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, you're going to be entered into a pool for a $100 Visa gift card.
Yeah.
Possibility.
Sure.
Check your state, make sure you're allowed to do that kind of thing. But then people, they're more likely to give a little bit of feedback.
Yeah.
To you for that. So.
Yeah. It's like, try it out, folks.
Yeah. Dave, now there's a variety of ways to do this, right? I mean, you can use things like SurveyMonkey. You can do physical forms that you can fill out and have them fill them out manually. Your constant contact email thing, you can put a form in there.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are software. You're probably more up to date on the actual software for this stuff than I am. Maybe not. But what are your thoughts on software options for surveys? Do you know any?
Well, yeah, we've got the Survey Monkeys and the Survey Blank. So just, choose whatever will work. Everything does work within a lot of your mail systems. Like you talked about MailChimp or Constant Contact or Drip, Active Campaign, whatever, they will give you the opportunity to do it. You can design your own, which is good.
Yeah.
You could do it as simple as making a Google form.
Yeah, there you go.
And do that. You could add a form or a page, have your web designer do it on your website and do it that way with a form plugin or something like that. That works too. Or you could just say, let's go low tech and do either call people up if you have their phone numbers, or just send them an email with the questions and see what their response is. And if you don't have that many clients, then just keep it simple. Keep it really simple.
Yes, but be consistent about it. I'm telling you, this old school, quote unquote, that you just said, calling people, you will find real power. In that, real power. Yeah. Because people know it takes guts to pick up the phone and call somebody and say, hey, do you like me? I like you. Well, check a box, yes or no. So
so some of this stuff, when you're asking those questions, if you're going to actually send a personal email, I think it's really important then, or call him, it's really important to preface that with what we talked about, saying, I really want to hear the truth. I'm asking because I want the truth, both good and bad.
Yeah.
Because
don't sugarcoat it.
Yeah, don't sugarcoat it, because we as an organization want to improve. We want to get better. And if we don't know what we can do to get better, then we can't. So it doesn't help us if you hold things back. So please help us.
Yeah. And I would encourage you. I know that it takes guts to do this when you first start doing it. I get it. I was scared to death when we first started doing this, but it's like anything. The more you do it, the more used to it you become, right? And you learn the tools of not taking things personally. And again, if you look at like going to the gym, I know that if I've not worked out like now for a long time, when I go to the gym, it's going to suck. It is going to suck for a long time until I get back into it, right? And then you look forward to it because it's going to feel so crappy while you're doing it, but you're going to feel so good on the other side of it, right? And so I just encourage you, embrace it. Embrace it. And the less defensive you are during the process, the more forgiving I think the client or customer will be when they're giving you the negative stuff. Just be in receive mode is what we call it in the world of Dave and Larry. Just be in receive mode.
Yeah, before you make that call. Before you make that call, before you send that email, be in receive mode.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't do it. Don't do it if you're hangry.
Halt. Hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. I can't even say that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Anything else, sir?
That was a lot. That was a lot.
I know that was a lot. That was a
lot. I encourage you. Hey, we're in business to serve people.
Yeah.
Right. Because it's a transaction. I'm giving you my time, service, product, and in exchange, you're giving me something back. Right. And this is part of the process. And this is one way to build loyalty among customers and turning them into long-term clients. This is a
Okay.
powerful thing to do.
So Larry, let's practice what we preach.
Uh-oh.
You folks listening or watching on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being best, how would you rate the content that we give you or delivery, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
How would you do that? And then anything but a 10, which I'm sure we're going to get a lot of non-10s. Tell us what we can do better. If it's certain episodes you want to hear, certain subjects. Is it, do you want me to start wearing a hat like Larry does? Just whatever it is, let us know, right? Tell us how we can improve. And then, of course, as Larry mentioned, why not tell us if you would refer us to a friend or a business owner to listen to what we talk about?
Yep.
And if not, why not? And if so, why?
Yeah, very good.
So put it in the comments, send us an email, fill out a contact form at HireMyVA.com. However you want to do it, give us that feedback.
That's right.
Okay. Well, thank you folks for being with us. We do really appreciate it. And remember, building a team is the way to reclaim your freedom. Have that team help you implement these surveys and respond to that feedback. And of course, we're here to help you with our course and community and our white glove service where we find a rockstar VA for you. So there's 3 things we'd love for you to do, and we'd really appreciate it. Number 1, subscribe to the podcast. If you haven't already done so, either on your iPhone or Android phone, and on YouTube by hitting the subscribe button and clicking on the little bell next to it to get reminders. And then number 2, give us a rating. This is relative to what I just talked about. Give us a rating, a 5-star, whatever it is, but leave a comment, as I mentioned, about how we can improve, what you want us to talk about. If you have any other insights that you want to add to the conversation, give us a comment because it'll help us to get the word out. And then the third thing is go to HireMyVA.com for more information on our course and community and our white glove service. And remember, even without experience, you'll learn how to prepare for, hire, and thrive with virtual assistants.
Right.
Larry, we've helped a lot of folks. I think we had a great virtual spotlight session today.
Yeah.
We'd love to help you too. We've got some openings in that as well. But you can find more out about us and all we have to offer there at HireMyVA.com.
That's right. Hey, folks, friends, loved ones, do yourself a favor. Do the world a favor. Go do something significant today. All right. God bless you. God keep you. God hold you. All right. We'll see you next week.
Okay.
Later, Gator.
Bye folks.